streams that filter through this land of ours and fill a sportsman's dreams. Enjoy what nature holds for us, her bounty never ends. Getting back to basics with the practical sportsman. It's always an adventure, no matter where we go. From a favorite hunting spot to the hottest fishing hole. Outdoor life we all can share with family and friends. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman.
It'd be kind of like us. Say you had that nice piece of steak in front of you, and you know it's steak, there's no question about it. But when you stick your fork in it to cut it, all of a sudden it starts pulling you across the table, see?
I let it go.
It would not only make you question it, but it would put a little bit of fear into you.
Fish want their food to look natural the same way we want our food to look natural. That's what we're going to be talking about with Larry Walter in the next half hour, how to catch more fish the simple way. Stay tuned. It's Thursday night, May 31st, the year 2001. I'm Fred Trost, and you're watching The Practical Sportsman. What you're going to see in the next few minutes is a Joe Lunch Bucket fishing trip. This boat and motor is a rental, $40 for 6 hours. It's a 14-footer, and the Bass Pros might look down on a rig like this. It's not a boat for competitive fishing. It's for fun fishing. Fishing for fish that you're going to keep and eat. See, there's more to a lunch bucket than just carrying it around. You could put fish sandwiches in it, you know. While the livery gets the boat swung into the canal that leads into Lake St. Clair, I'm getting ready in the camper. Jimmy let me park in his lot overnight so we could be ready to go at daybreak. Now, parking like this for a night's sleep is a big benefit of having an RV. You wake up fresh, ready to go, and you're already at the dock. My guide is Larry Walter. He's a different kind of fishing guide because he doesn't supply the boat. You run the boat. He goes with you and he teaches you how to fish. In fact, he'll teach you how to start the outboard if you need it. Oh, the way that motor started up, that's another benefit of a rental motor. Somebody else keeps it serviced, and if it doesn't work, it's not your headache. I know that's kind of a selfish way of looking at it, but renting boats and motors and renting RVs and renting cabins for that matter is often much better than buying one if you look at the dollars and cents. You use it, then you give it back. What a deal. On this morning, there was a little pollen on the water, but that wouldn't bother us or the fish after we get into Lake St. Clair. That pollen, though, has to be cleaned off all these boats you see docked along the canal. That's just one more responsibility of owning a boat. A lot of people think the more they own, the more money they'll save. Well, you push a pencil on that and see that ownership benefits can be an illusion. And speaking of an illusion, check out my mustache. A little bit of an illusion there. Now, this is no illusion, though. Sunrise over Lake St. Clair. Fishing isn't always better at daybreak, but it sure is a nice time to be on the water. Oh, yeah. Gotta like this. This is that wind that we didn't have the other day. Amen. We didn't go very far offshore. We went to an area that Larry Walter has caught lots of fish at over the years. He lined up landmarks on the shore to find this spot. I'm going to show you how to do that next season. We're also going to be getting lots of material this summer on fishing with live bait, particularly night crawlers. Larry Walter is an expert with crawlers, and he rigs them very carefully. Now, a lot of us learned to gob the worms on the hook, looping it back and forth like a ball of yarn. Larry will show us on another program how and why you only hook a crawler once. He calls it the plain rig and says you'll catch more fish with a plain rig than any other. He casts it gently, on purpose. He fishes with 2 rods at a time, lays them against the gunnel until he detects the bite of a fish. Then he gives the line a little bit of slack, lets the fish take up the slack, and before the line gets tight, wham, he sets the hook. Now, does that work all the time? Of course not.
You missed them.
I didn't miss mine, though. Oh, look at him run. Look at him run. Larry prefers long, limber rods for most of his fishing. Now, they have some practical advantages, and they look cool. Got him coming to the boat. Oh, holy cow. Oh, Larry, I like it. I like it. This was on a small worm, but you can't beat that.
Isn't that something?
Lake St. Clair perch. Wow. That's a dandy. Yes, sirree. Yes, sirree. And a lively one with all its spines. Fully equipped. I'm going to need the degorger on this one. I think I might be able to save the worm here. Yep, need the degorger.
Just get the line in the slot. Keep it tight. That's the key. And then just follow it down. And if it's way down in the throat even, it doesn't matter. Just give it a push and it comes right out and you're back to fishing again.
Awesome.
Uh-oh, this one's actually swimming away. He's actually moving across the lake. He's got a little bit more weight. Yep. And when they run like that off to the side, there's a good chance that there's a school there.
What do you think it is?
It feels like it's doing a sheephead shuffle, but it's awful strong. Might be a smallie.
Ooh, taking line.
Yeah, he's got some power. It's no sheephead. It's probably a smallie.
By smallie, Larry's referring to a smallmouth bass. Lake St. Clair is one of the best smallmouth fishing lakes in the world. I mean, I'm not kidding either. It's a smallmouth bass factory. But before we get this one into the boat,
Now that line
we might as well get something straight right now. Tournament fishermen never keep a bass. They toss everything back because they want to catch it again. It might mean money for them in a tournament. Now, I don't have any problem with that, but some of us really enjoy eating smallmouth bass, and we don't like feeling guilty about it. In fact, we enjoy everything about these fish. Boy, this turned out to be quite a battle.
I'm not milking this one, Fred. This is fish. You can see that rod. Oh, that's a big smallie.
Oh, yes. Wow. You might have noticed Larry's reel spooling backwards. That's on purpose.
Now this is why it's so important that your reel turn from counterclockwise. As you're playing them, this way it comes, the bail head comes around this way and slips over your fingers. All other reels rotate this way and smash into your fingers. Boy, these smallmouth are nuts.
Now, Larry didn't get back to explaining his reel. He will another time. Right now he's concerned with how he battles the fish. And I asked him, what is the most important thing when you're fighting a fish? Fish fighting technique.
Just keep the steady pressure on them. Never use a drag when you're using light line.
Why not?
Not only does it
You're messing up your netting.
not only does it you have less chance of getting them in, but it loosens your line all up. See, on a
Oh, look at that. Now this is a smallmouth bass, and it's average size for Lake St. Clair. But remember, we're not tournament fishing.
That's a good eating size too. He's not too big, but he's got that nice
coloration.
Oh, just gorgeous.
Do they change color at all since the water is cleared up?
Well, they will. I mean, they change color, and that's an important fact right there too. Whether it's walleye, bass, or whatever, like if you're fishing a lake like Lake St. Clair where the water changes color, you can tell how many fish are coming in there by just going over today's catch. See, when you're using this, you're going to catch so many fish that you're going to have the opportunity to witness a number of different species and what color they are. Now, when a fish gets in dark water, it loses its color. It isn't as bright. So you can tell by the color of the fish you're catching. Like this one here now, he's been in some dingy water for a while because his colors aren't real bright. Now, if you're fishing like, say, a dingy area and all of a sudden you're getting fish that are both real bland of color and brightly marked, that means that you're in a spot that you can probably rely on to be good for the next 4 or 5 days at least, because you've got an existing fish population there and you've got more that are moving in. So whatever's causing them to move in, odds are they're coming there for a purpose and they're going to be around for a while. So the next day you want to get right back out into that same area. Unless the water changes color, of course, and that's probably why they're there. The dingier the water, the more fish there's going to be. Well, Fred, as far as I'm concerned, there's no better eating than a nice smallmouth.
The ice chest is open.
There we go.
Okay. And it goes. Geez, we got that smallmouth and we got this perch. It's about as fine eating as you can get, and these are nice sized ones too. Well, both Larry and I love eating fresh fish that we catch. No apologies on that, but catching fish isn't automatic, even when they grab your bait. The fish nibbled, I set the hook. Now that's how we all learned, wasn't it? When the fish tightens the line, you tighten back, but that can be a fatal mistake to your fishing success. Larry sets me straight on that.
Nope. Fred, never let that line tighten up. Once you make the decision it's a fish and feed out free line, never let that line tighten again. It should never come. When you set that hook, don't forget that you got that hook buried totally in that nightcrawler. Number one, if you let it tighten up, they'll blow it out so fast that you don't even know they're gone. And number two, you've got to have that little arc in your line down to the water so that the rod gets its momentum built up for maybe that far before it hits, just like cracking that whip. In order to make that whip work, you've got to crack it. And that's the same thing. If it's tight, you can't get that energy needed to bust that hook out of the nightcrawler and into the fish. Now, of course, we pre-make the track in that nightcrawler when we hook it. And I don't know if we've covered that yet, but that's so important. You've got to
Well, we don't have time to get in that today, Larry, but we will on another show. Larry Walter is finishing up a book on fishing. He talks about his plain rig, a hook and a nightcrawler drifting in a small boat. Larry will be back numerous times with us next year. His techniques are ideal for a practical sportsman. Larry Walter has fished with all kinds of techniques, and he says when the fish are hungry and they're hitting, you can use just about anything. But when they're not, which is most of the time, he finds the plain rig to be most effective. That's just a hook and a nightcrawler. And he says with a nightcrawler, you don't hook it through the side of the body. You hook it by putting the hook into its mouth. Hey, I'm not kidding. Just watch. Great day. We're pulling out of the channel at Jimmy's Boat Livery in Harrison Township. Now, you don't have to go out far in Lake St. Clair to catch fish. But on this day, I was fishing with a fishing instructor, Larry Walter. I got to admit, some of his theories seemed a little far-fetched at first, or maybe they were just too simple in this day and age when too many people in the tackle business try to make everything complicated and expensive.
This is good. Swing the boat around so the side you're going to fish off of goes up against the wind. Turn it right around in a circle. All the way.
All the way. So the wind is coming from...
Right now at your back, so we have to get a little bit more around.
So we're going to
just
fish...
before you square off, right now.
Okay.
Now what this does is it locks you. You just stop dead in the one spot, and now all our lines immediately go right straight out from the boat. There'll be no trailing of the line. So. And turn the motor, the back end of the motor, always towards the wind. That'll keep your boat square.
Like that?
The other way.
The other way?
Yep.
Okay, the back end towards the wind.
Right. Now see the back end starting to square around now with the front end against the wind? Makes a difference like day and night.
You've drifted a little bit before, huh, Larry?
Yeah. I haven't trolled hardly since I wrapped up the research in 1982. I haven't trolled a dozen times, I bet.
And why not?
It's just so unproductive. It just,
Trolling is unproductive.
oh, good. Drifting will outproduce trolling 10 to 1 at least. Now, not when the fish are active, you can actually catch more fish trolling because you're covering more area and the fish are active. But those days that you don't get a fish trolling, don't think you can't catch fish, you take this rig right here and you drift with it, you're going to catch fish. But when it doesn't respond in a way that they're accustomed to, it'd be kind of like us. Say you had that nice piece of steak in front of you and you know it's steak, there's no question about it. But when you stick your fork in it to cut it, all of a sudden it started pulling you across the table, see?
I let it go.
It would not only make you question it, but it would put a little bit of fear into you. And that's exactly the same thing that's happening with the fish.
Never thought about that. Huh.
When you first grab a crawler, usually he'll open his mouth, and once you get used to it, you can have the hook inserted in no time flat.
In his mouth?
It has to be, it can't even be a 64th off to the side. It has to be,
I thought you're serious.
Yeah, it
the
has to
crawler
be.
opens his mouth. I didn't.
now this one here knows that I'm after his head, so he's going to be a little bit tough to work with now. Once they find out that, you know, like you're after that end, why, then run the nose of the crawler up till it hits the bend in the hook, pop the hook back out. Then take the exposed part of the hook, pull it back in so it goes right into the crawler's mouth. Then take and squiggle the worm up a little bit so that when you hook this in now it will be a straight line. And now this crawler will cut. This one here, doing it slow like that, I didn't get it quite right. That shouldn't be that kink in there even.
But
then,
basically that's the technique.
that's the technique. And when you get to the other side, I always put the hook right in my finger. And then what that does, now the hook will retreat back into the crawler, making it totally weedless, but the track is already formed so that when the fish hits, instantly the hook comes right back out into him.
Now where is the fish going to hit when it's looking at a crawler that's stretched
If it's
out
a
in the water?
big fish, a little fish...
Larry
a lot of
Walter
people say
isn't
that,
really
you know,
a
they-
guide,
fish
he's a
will
fishing
only get the bait by the
instructor.
head. Well,
You
that's
supply the boat and run the
the
boat,
size of the
and
fish.
Larry will
Big fish
teach you
will
his
come up
fishing
here,
methods.
hit it from
Now he
deep
explains the
angle
reasoning
along.
behind his
A
almost
little
too
fish,
simple techniques
kinda
in
like-
ways that anybody can understand.
Picture trying to eat that hamburger without benefit of your hands. If somebody was pulling it with the slightest pull, you couldn't get it. And that's the same thing with the fish. You got to remember, fish don't have hands. They are capable of overtaking any of their prey easily. But when it doesn't respond in a way that they're accustomed to, it'd be kind of like us. Say you had that nice piece of steak in front of you, and you know it's steak, there's no question about it. But when you stick your fork in it to cut it, all of a sudden it started pulling you across the table, see?
I let it go.
It would not only make you question it, but it would put a little bit of fear into you. And that's exactly the same thing that's happening with the fish.
Never thought about that. Larry admits that when the fish are on the feed, it's not necessary to use the plain rig. But I found that technique, for example, of hooking the crawler through the mouth, can use that with crawler harnesses or jigs or some of the more high-tech techniques. After fishing with Larry on Lake St. Clair, I used his crawler hooking technique when I fished on Little Bay de Noc with Walleye Pro Mark Schultz from Kingsford. Mark runs a high-powered walleye boat with tons of power, tons of electronic toys, and tons of tackle. But when we went for walleye on Little Bay de Noc, Mark broke out the night crawlers, and I tried to hook them the way Larry Walter taught me.
Sailor, and you take the dark end and feed it right down through there.
The tough part is getting the crawler to open its mouth, which it will do, but if you miss on the first try, it'll move.
Boy, they know how to back up. There we go. Like that. Take it back through. There.
Clean crawlers and clean hands are the best way to get a grip on that wiggly worm.
Now, do we cast up there, or what do we do?
Cast towards the braid. And let it sink for a little bit, and then as soon as you feel the weeds, start working it back. Try and just tick the weeds.
Okay.
And when you quit feeling weeds, just let it drop. And it'll come right down that braid.
Larry Walter uses single hooks, but double hook crawler harnesses have been sold for years. Larry Walter prefers drifting with a single hook, but being a competitive angler, Mark Schultz likes to cast with the crawler harness, which works fine when the fish are hungry. Mark works from the bow, controlling the electric motor. In the back, I was casting along the weed bed and getting hits, but I didn't always get the hook set. With the worm moving at a relatively constant speed, it moved like that T-bone steak, and the fish apparently spit it out quickly. So I had to put on another crawler, and I was getting the hang of it. You can see in slow motion that when I concentrated and held my hand steady, I could get it in the crawler's mouth easily. It goes right in. There we go. There, that's a tasty looking morsel. If I hadn't had breakfast, I'd eat that myself. You got one?
Yep.
Okay. Mark is very adept at striking quickly on a fish, and he got a good one this time.
You're probably going to need a net on this one, Fred.
We had a little competition, of course, for who got the biggest.
I think I have his 18 inches beat.
I am ready.
Okay, there's the bottom. Oh, there it is. See him down there?
There we go. Ooh, that is a nice one. Yes, it does have it beat. Whoa!
How's that for an
That is dandy. That is dandy. Boy, you gotta like this. This is a super one. This is the best walleye of the trip so far.
So far.
Man, that's great. Boy, they do have teeth, these walleye. Look at those teeth, Matty. You got to be real careful when you're reaching in and getting the hook out.
There you go.
Now, I see I have the hook in my finger there. Oh,
All the
boy.
way through.
Oh, yes.
Just cut the end hook off with your recut.
There we go. That is a dandy.
There you go.
That is a dandy. And thank you for letting me hold your fish.
You're welcome.
See, we can use this in a little isolated cut, and people think, man, he catches big
He
walleye.
catches nice walleye.
Okay, so how long is it, Mr. Walleye Pro?
Gonna say 20 and a half.
20 and a half? Oh, I'd say bigger than that.
You
Let's
think
see.
so?
Oh, I'd say so. Oh, my.
20.
Mark,
Oh,
you
we're
are
way off
losing
on
it.
That one.
You're losing it. We're 22 and a half. You were a full 2 inches off.
But see, I can't be accused of fish.
Okay, yeah, you were.
The big one that got away is a big one, see?
Okay.
That's how that goes.
Now, Matt, this is gonna be pretty cool here. We can open up the live well. There's the two fish from yesterday. Let me see if I can. Okay, this was the big one from yesterday. And look at, you've dwarfed it. You've dwarfed it, Mark. That was the big one. And we'll put the, boy, that live well, these fish have been in the live well all night long. Did you have it aerating like this during the night? How often does it kick on?
Oh, every 2 minutes, every 3 minutes.
Oh, every 2 or 3 minutes it puts oxygen in there. Boy, that kept those things going. That's great.
Just turn that one latch.
Well, here they are. They've been in the live well. Some of these, this is a new one in the live well. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Doesn't want to come out. Too bad. Okay, one in the bucket. I'm going to go for the smaller walleye back here. Oh, wait. This was one we caught yesterday evening. There's another one we caught yesterday evening. Come here, little fella. Tournament fishermen need live wells because they weigh the fish and then release them. Now, I'm a catch and fillet fisherman, and I find that a live well keeps the fish fresh until I can clean them. Okay, I've got a perch in here. What did fishermen do before live wells? Well, Jim Preston brought this to put on display at the museum. It clamps on the side of a boat, has a hoop up like that, toss the fish there, and they stay alive in the bag that's down in the water. Here's one that I picked up at a garage sale, an early style of this basket that's used nowadays. The baskets they sell nowadays have a floater in the top so they can float and keep the fish alive. Well, it's fun to catch panfish and fillet them, but sometimes when you're on a trout stream and catching small trout, the fun is just in being out there and stalking them. Hi, I'm Fred Trost. Over the years I've done a lot of TV stories on fishing, but one of them stands out as being the best example, I think, of what lures anglers to fishing. It's a story about opening day on an Upper Peninsula stream, why one angler loves fishing for trout so much. As we head into a month with some great trout fishing, I'm going to revisit this story this week. So join me for trout fishing, same time, same station, right here on Public TV.